I was just in my bed. It was hurting like crazy, and I'm like shaking. And I just started praying because there was nothing I could do. I didn't have anything that could help it. And I was just sitting there praying, and it just felt like God was giving me a hug. And then the shaking stopped, and the pain went away.
Yeah.
And that was like, I feel like the first moment that I like wholly and completely trusted God.
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody, to the Interstate Podcast. I'm Luke, the most ancient of all hosts of all things on the internet, and I have an amazing show. We have a new co-host, y'all. Give it up for Laser.
Thank you very much.
You've been on the show before.
I have.
And you've made your way up.
Yes.
Are you gunning for my job?
Maybe.
Okay.
Secretly.
And we have an amazing guest. Now, this is maybe our youngest guest. You'll have to answer that later. Piper.
Hi.
Hi, Piper. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
I'm glad that you're here. How old are you, if you don't mind?
I'm 13, but I'm turning 14 in 2 months.
14. And how old's Brianna?
Brianna is older than me.
Come on, Brianna. Why you gotta be so old? So you are probably our official youngest guest of all time ever.
Yay.
Why? Why do we have you on if you're the youngest? Why? I think that speaks to your character. Why do you think we had you on?
I don't know. Maybe
Maybe we'll find out.
Maybe we'll find out.
I think we will. Honestly, if I could interject and just say you carry yourself at a much higher age. Like if people knew you from youth group, they might not know your actual age. So?
I think maybe it's because I was born after school started, so most of my friends are starting their first year of high school. So I hang out with the freshmen
older
and older kids. So
yeah.
Some people naturally assume I'm older because of that.
Yes, that means your senior year is going to be lonely. You're going to have to reach out to the younglings. The younglings. Well, we have some questions for you today, and let's get right into it. Jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu.
That wasn't a question, but tell us about jiu-jitsu. Why do you do jiu-jitsu? What is it? How is it different than other martial arts?
Okay, so I have been doing jiu-jitsu for 2 years. Well, I just started my third year, but yeah, 2 years. And I am a gray belt, which is the third belt.
Okay.
And so jiu-jitsu is a combination of something. Brazilian jiu-jitsu is what I do. There's also Japanese jiu-jitsu, that was originally created for like the military, so it's a lot more violent.
Okay.
Because you're not just trying to get points and like
you're not trying to do a sport.
You're not trying to do
dispose of people.
So the Gracies, which is a very famous jiu-jitsu family, the guy who really created Brazilian jiu-jitsu did it by combining judo with Japanese jiu-jitsu. So it's sort of like, it ends up being like, it's kind of wrestling. You do like takedowns, and then so the goal is to either have the most points by the end of the match or by submitting somebody through like a chokehold or through like an armbar or something.
Okay. I have a question. So, Laser, you do martial arts.
I do.
You've been on the show before. I don't know if we talked to you about that.
We didn't.
Not too much.
No.
But it is a big part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
But you do traditional karate, right?
That is one of the things I do, yes.
Oh,
technically, you could say I do MMA, which I don't do UFC fighting, but MMA just stands for mixed martial arts.
Sure.
And so I do multiple different kinds.
Okay. Now, Piper is much younger than you, and I think you outweigh her. Could she take you in a grappling match?
That really depends on
I just want your
rules.
honest answer, Laser.
I'm
just messing with it. Now I'm just trying to get you going.
That would depend on the rules. If it's like street fight, I don't think so. But if I'm playing by their rules, that would be more difficult since I don't know their rules and they have more like locks and holds knowledge than me. Totally.
There isn't really a grappling I know you guys practice grappling, but is there like a point system to that? Or do you just sort of get out of it and then get back?
Yeah, there is a point system. We don't do it often since we don't really have like grappling tournaments or anything like that. It's mostly just like 13 and above you can do like choke submissions until they tap, and younger than that it's just until the sensei says stop.
Sure. So let's use those rules. You two grapple.
I would think that I would win. I would hope.
Okay.
Assuming, because I'm like what 5 years older, I would hope not to offend anybody.
No, I don't
Okay,
think
okay.
Piper's offended. I think if anything, Piper's like, I'm up for it.
Right now.
Well, maybe, if we do, so there's rumors, sumo, summer camp 2024. Maybe we do girls division, guys division, and the champions.
I will be 18 at that camp.
Oh my goodness. Now, if Piper beats you in that match, we will revisit that on the show. And we have this to prove. Okay, Piper. So, you are a co-founder of a GroupMe group. You want to tell us about that?
So, yes, Brianna and we created the Bluey GroupMe because sometimes you just need to talk about Bluey with people.
It's true.
So Brianna's the one who actually got me into Bluey, and the way I found out about it was, first of all, Dad got the Bluey playlist was recommended to him while he was at work, so we listened to the entire thing.
Okay.
So I started with the Bluey music and then got into the show.
Oh.
But I got into the show because I was at the library and her little sisters were there, and they were coloring in like Bluey coloring pages, and they were telling me all about it. And they're like, "Oh yeah, Brianna loves it too." And so I went to talk to Brianna about it. It's like, "Oh, I heard you love Bluey." She was like, "Yes, I do."
Yes.
I was like,
So when was this, do you think? How long ago?
I want to say like a year ago.
Bluey fan for a year.
Maybe a year and a half, but.
So, oh man, and you are one of my personal babysitters,
Yes.
and so you get a chance to watch some Bluey and venture into that with one of my my child. I guess you could watch it with my older kids too, really. You know who is one of my babysitters is Hannah, which sadly leads us to our first major segment of the episode, and I've been avoiding it because it's a sad one. How was Tuesday?
Tuesday was good and it was bad for the same thing.
Yes.
We had Hannah's goodbye party.
Very fun.
It was very fun.
Now there's a lot of debate. You think she's coming back?
I do. I do.
You think she's coming back?
I think she's coming back. I don't have any doubt that she's not coming back, unless the Lord has some plan for her that none of us foresee. Like, we're actually going to have you stay in Hawaii for a year, then go to be into ministry with Connor. Who knows? Who knows what God's plan is?
My personal, I just think she's going to come back to visit.
Yeah.
And then she's going to go back to Hawaii.
Possibly. Hopefully for at least Christmas.
Yeah. What was your favorite part of Tuesday, though? Let's focus on the good.
I liked how we were all kind of just hanging out, but I felt like it was different because people weren't just getting in their little groups. Everybody was kind of hanging out with everybody.
Yeah, that did happen.
Yeah, we didn't just have the high schoolers were off in their corner and the Bluey kids were off in their corner.
Wait, there's Bluey kids? No.
Oh, no.
I'm joking.
The Bluey kids.
Sounds real.
It was true. I think it's because of, why do you think it is? Why do you think? Get your opinion first.
I feel like because we were all kind of together under the same idea. We're there for Hannah.
Yeah.
And we were kind of we had food. We had sugar.
Food
we
and
were
sugar.
just
I think food, yeah.
Yeah, it was just
Food.
kind of like it felt more relaxed, and it felt like we're not here to hang out with we're here to hang out with our friends. We're not here to hang out with just our close friends. We're there to celebrate being together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we did at the end was talk about so we have new Bibles. Man, I wish I had a Bible to show y'all. I don't have mine on me, but imagine this beautiful, amazing Bible. Now, we sell those at youth group now. They're Interstate Bibles. So if you're watching this, you don't have one, they're $10. Get on it. We your dad actually taught us how to use it. Is there anything that he taught that you didn't know?
Well, I've never had a Bible with like the study notes in it before, in like the commentaries. So,
Actually, me either. This is my first one.
like, mom and we have a bunch at our house that we pull out when we have youth group at our house and stuff.
Yeah.
But I never like really looked at it before.
Right.
So it's interesting.
It is interesting. What about you, Laser? Anything new that you're like, whoa, I didn't know that?
So I've had a Bible that's really similar to that one. Has like the study notes at the bottom, the cross references, footnotes, and I've had like a big study Bible like that since I graduated high school just over 2 years ago. But something that Paul pointed out was I think it was the concordance where it has words and then some key verses that use those words. I had looked at that before, and I'd known that that kind of exists, but something I hadn't considered is that those are key verses that have those words and they relate to each other, and how useful that can be if you're looking for a specific topic or something like that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. The concordance is like Google 20 years ago. Yeah. It's the same type of thing. It's like an algorithm to give you the best of what you're looking for with a certain word.
Google is actually 25 years old now. So.
Oh my goodness. Interesting fact. Tuesday was very sad. I did, like you were saying before, it felt comfortable. It was as if it felt a little summer camp again.
It did.
This year is the first year in a long time where Tuesdays occasionally will feel a lot like summer camp, which is a really good sign.
Yeah.
I think we're onto something as a youth group. What is one of your most impactful memories you have of youth group so far? You're relatively young and new to Interstate. Even though you're here, you're all in for the youth group. I get that, but you're still pretty young and new to it. Something that sticks out.
I don't know if it's like one memory in particular, but I've always had like a hard time like making friends and talking to people. Like I don't always feel comfortable doing that.
Sure.
But I feel like that's the first place that I've been to really that I feel like I can just instantly like trust these people. And I feel like I don't have to like be different. Yeah. I feel like I can kind of, I'm a little weird sometimes, but it feels like I can do that there and that's fine.
Yeah.
And it just feels like a safe place.
Why do you think that is? Like yeah, why? Is it because something's happening, or is it because you're just trusting it to happen?
It might be a little bit of both.
Yeah. Because is there something that's led you to believe that, or are you just like, I think this is a safe place? It should be.
Well, I've always grown up like I've watched my dad go off to summer camp, and then Ranger and Dad go off to summer camp, and Ranger come home, talk about how great youth group was. So it's always just been like this thing, like youth group. I'm almost in youth group now. It's gonna be so fun. So I go there like with that attitude.
Yes.
And so I feel less like this is like this scary new thing because I've been hearing about it like my whole life.
Yeah.
So it feels like I kind of know what to expect, and except like I didn't, but at the same time I did.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. What about you?
I was gonna say I also think that Interstate has helped not just you but me and other students like get more comfortable talking to other people, not just there but anywhere else you go. Like especially before Interstate, I was really uncomfortable talking to people. I still am, but I worked through it there. Interstate has helped me grow a lot since the years I've been in it.
That's awesome. Me too, honestly. I wish that you two could have seen me in my first 2 weeks at Interstate. I was really scared. I was very nervous. We had a tradition that was not mine. And in fact, it was one of my first things that I disassembled when I started leading it more. The tradition was if you were brand new, you had to stand up in front of everyone on the mic and say your most embarrassing story of your whole life. And so, well, I'm not going to share that story today with you. It's really embarrassing. And anyways, I did that. And some of the teenagers were looking at me in the front row. I don't know anyone. I don't know any of the teenagers like at all. And some of them were looking at me like, you shouldn't be telling us this. This is awful. Like it wasn't funny. It wasn't like, oh, you're new and it's a funny thing. They were just like, who is this guy? And he probably shouldn't be a leader. That was like my first experience. So it's like sort of like the opposite of what you're describing.
I actually have a story about that. So when I joined, like almost 6 years ago at this point, that was a thing, except when new students came, it was the joyless laughter. If you remember that. And I'll explain how that works. Basically, two students face each other, and you have to laugh out loudly, with the completely blank facial expression.
No smiling.
No smiling at all. And the first person to actually laugh or break character or smile or whatever, in this case, had to go up and say an embarrassing story like you did.
That's right. I remember.
And my first interstate was with Biz. We went together, and so I lost to him. And through some series of events, I don't remember, I didn't end up going to the mic and have to say it.
Really?
Have to say my story.
Do you want to tell the internet?
I think I'm okay, actually. I think I am. I'm quite fine.
I feel like though you owe us in one sense. Piper, I'll let you decide. What do you think?
I probably shouldn't have said it on the internet.
Maybe we should skip it.
Maybe, but probably it's happened since
Production
then.
is telling us all sorts of things. They're saying, do it, don't do it. Does it have anything to do with breaking the law?
We don't need to talk about that.
Maybe we should skip it. Anyways, back to the relevancy. It's a safe place. And I don't know. I kind of enjoyed that tradition we had about the embarrassing stories. It sort of forced kids. I get why Ryan and the original people like Matt and stuff installed that, because after that first day, when you did your most embarrassing story in front of everyone, there was nothing worse. Mm-hmm. So like the next time you came, you're just like, dude, I'm like in.
I'm open.
There's nothing, I don't care what happens. I don't have to do that again. So I get it. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know.
It could force kids who are very uncomfortable.
There were some stories with kids that, well, we didn't see them again. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But maybe they wouldn't come anyways. The old days. Maybe that'll be the next segment. Get some ancient people on and talk about one old thing. Our next segment is smack here on the table, talking point cards. You have teens, family, and Christian, and they are three categories in which there's a thought-provoking question or prompt that will get us all talking. What would you like to choose?
I was thinking about family, but I think I'm going to go with Christian, actually.
Go ahead, grab the card, and read it for us, Piper.
Does God or a higher power seem personal to you?
Ooh, that's good.
I like that question.
I do, too. I like it.
I would say yes, because I feel like I feel I can trust him, and I have a hard time like trusting people when like I don't know them very well.
Of course, yeah.
It's like I just like people that I've like if I am not like really close friends with people, then I have a hard time like really trusting them.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I trust God.
Why? Like what has led you to?
So I think something in my life that really made me a lot closer to God is so I'm lactose intolerant, but before we knew that, I didn't have any meds for that, and I had to get a bunch of tests and to see what was wrong, because I was having like I'd have terrible stomach aches like every night, and I was barely sleeping. I wasn't eating anything, and so I remember one night in particular, I was just in my bed. It was hurting like crazy, and I'm like shaking. And I just started praying because there was nothing I could do. I didn't have anything that could help it. And I was just sitting there praying. and it just felt like God was giving me a hug, and then the shaking stopped and the pain went away.
Yeah.
And that was like, I feel like the first moment that I like wholly and completely trusted God.
Yeah. That's so good. I like that story because there could be a lot of ways that the Lord could have got your attention, but it seemed like it was like your last resort. You're like, okay, if you're real, I just need your help. Like, there's nothing else. And I love that God meets us even in those moments, where I'm kind of trying to think of like from a parent perspective, we always want our kids to just come to us when things are great and just be super thankful and like devoted, but it's often when everything is bad and like we are the last resort. Nonetheless, like it doesn't matter because that's it's still an honor like when your kid does that. So like what parent would ever be like, well, if you've tried everything else and I'm the last resort, just get out of here. It's like the opposite. It's like, it doesn't matter. That's so good. Yeah, that is really good.
Because prayer has been a big part of my life. Like, cause my dad's a pastor. So we have a lot of, you don't have to have a pastor for a parent to have this in your life.
Yeah.
But we put a lot of focus on the Bible and on prayer in our house. But that was the first, that was the first time it really felt like that. Like it felt powerful and it felt like I was like reaching out to God because I needed him. And it felt more like that. It felt like a bigger thing.
Yeah.
And I've gotten better since then at praying for the little things in my life too.
I thought you were gonna say with your lactose intolerance. But so you're saying now you're feeling more comfortable praying for just little things.
And the praying for the little things feels less just like I'm just saying it feels like a big thing, but also just a little thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good. That's really good. One moment kind of changes. Yeah. Do you want to answer that question? Personal is.
Can you read the question?
Yeah,
again?
read that again.
Does God or a higher power seem personal to you?
Okay, so I was thinking about this as soon as you read it. The way it phrases it, the way it says, with a higher power, kind of throws me off because
I think it was saying because it says maybe even for someone who's not Christian. Read that again.
Does God, and then it says in parentheses, or a higher power seem personal to you?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was considering. How do I phrase this? I am of the belief that God is the only higher power, and so he is personal to me, but trying to make up some other higher power or believe that some other one exists for me personally and making a personal connection to that doesn't work.
Sure, and I agree. I think we're Christian, so that's pretty firm. But let's get back to the question.
Okay.
How or why? Do you have an example like Piper gave or why? That is a really big thing to say, like he's personal. So what leads you to
a story
that?
I think fits in well here. So let's say 10, 11 years ago, I first got baptized. I was 6 years old. And it was like at a friend's house, a friend of a pastor of a church we went to or something, and I remember it was like me, Biz, a couple other kids, and I remember being so terrified because we had to take turns saying something into a microphone, like a testimony or whatever. I'm like, I don't want to do this, please. And because it was so long ago, I don't really remember the baptism. But since then, I had considered that it. I'm like, that's all I need. I got baptized once. I don't need to again. And I didn't realize that it's not like you restart your computer once you do it once you're okay. It's not a one and done clean through. I So after camp, I had the opportunity to get baptized again with the one and only Siggy, and I realized that it's an outward expression of your faith and trust in God. And once I had the opportunity and went through with it, I felt so much better. It felt like I had finally put my trust in Him, since I had grown up in a Christian household all my life, hearing all these things about Him, Bible studies, doing Bible studies with my dad, whatever it was. I It just felt amazing to finally fully put my trust in Him,
Yeah.
as an outward expression, so other people know, not just me.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that answered the question.
No, I think I was considering that.
I listened to every word you said,
Yeah.
and I couldn't really find a personal connection with. Now, I heard obedience, and I heard good religious like doctrine,
Mm-hmm.
but like what? And it doesn't have to be. I think Piper's story is unique and special, but like it doesn't have to be necessarily that. But like, what makes God personal to you? How?
I think, kind of generalizing it, just helping me through hard times, whatever it may be. Even if I don't go to Him as a first resource, like prayer is what it should be. If prayer should be the first thing that you go to, He's something that I know I can always come back to, wherever I am, whether I think I'm at rock bottom, whether I'm feeling on top of the world and like I'm better than everyone else.
Right.
I know I can always lean on Him, and multiple times I have. There was a time in maybe 5-6 months ago where, because of school stuff, I was just feeling terrible. That's the first time I had really understood depression. I was really sad. I didn't want to go to youth group. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to go anywhere. I felt horrible, and I just started praying so much more, and He helped me through it. I got through it, and since then I haven't been praying as much, but that's a good reminder that no matter where you are, you can always rely on Him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's normal as younger people in the faith and just younger that your really personal times are through trials. I mean, look at the Bible, like Bible characters, the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they cry out to the Lord when things are really bad. Yeah, I think, and then as you get older, I hope that He becomes more personal through good stuff too. You celebrate with Him. I just like the verse, pray without ceasing. It's sort of like Paul saying, like, try to make it about your whole life every day, in and out. That's such a good question, though. It's a really good question because if the Lord isn't personal, it's just this isn't going to last. Like, why would it? Like, you don't stay friends with people you don't know because it makes no sense. Like, if there's not a give and take, the friendship's going to end. Because it's not enough. Like, being religious and like following a distant, faraway God that you just hope will help you just isn't going to last, I feel like. So, good question. That was a thinker.
Yeah.
It was a good question.
It was a good
I like
question.
it.
It's a good question for new Christians too, like, because then you can sort of be like, is this real or not?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know?
And for ones who've been in the faith for a long time.
Honestly. It's sort of the difference between every other religion, really. That is interesting, where you kind of jumped ahead with the higher power. Like, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know how a higher power is personal.
Yeah.
Like, even just like the term just higher power, doesn't make it sound like a person or something, or something. It just sounds like it's just this thing,
An entity that is
like the force or something.
Yeah. You can't make a personal connection to that because there's nothing to connect to.
Yeah.
It's like it's an idol, an object, versus a personal being that you can connect with.
Yeah. That's really good. Yeah. I have a question for you, and Laser, if you want to queue up a question for Piper, but I have an interesting question. I think it's just for you. I was praying earlier about this and what I wanted to ask you, and you're young, but you're really all in for youth group. You're committed, and I know you really care about it. If you could change one thing about it, what would it be and why? And don't hold back. Like, you're not going to offend me, I promise you. And if anything, you might help the whole group.
Okay. That's a hard question.
That means you want to say something, but you don't want to say it.
No, I'm actually like, I don't know what to say.
Oh, okay.
I gotta think for a second.
Yeah, think for a second. You too, Laser. You can answer this too. One thing you could change about the whole operation, everything, anything. And I can take your card back while you're waiting.
Wow.
I got my answer, but I'll let you guys stew on it a little bit.
I think I might have mine.
Okay.
It sounds, I guess, a bit selfish, but more. I'll say it simply: more food. I like. I like how a couple weeks
Honestly,
ago.
that's not selfish. That's an honest answer, man.
I like how a couple weeks ago, I don't know who it was, someone brought a box of like different cereals. That was great. I really enjoyed that. That was awesome.
The old upper room days when it was just high school, we had food every single week.
I was just too young to go to that.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I got old enough,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's an honest answer. I agree with you. I would do more food.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Food is good.
Food is
Food
good.
is fellowship. Food is communion too.
Yeah.
Food is everything.
You
It's
can
like
connect over food
yeah.
very well.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm really interested for some reason because I was thinking this is your question. I don't know why.
okay, so I feel like one thing that we could do is when we do worship, not have the chairs out. Just have this empty space. I feel like it feels, to me, that makes it feel more like, it feels more like it's like more, it's more open. It feels, I don't know, I'm trying to think like how to put this in a word. Like,
Feels more real.
yeah, and it feels like you don't have to be right next to all it. For me, it helps to have a little bit of space. You don't need to be right next to these people, but if you want to be in a big group and be worshiping together, you have the opportunity to do that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like what we did at summer camp, where we all we'll sit in the middle. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that okay, here's a question for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with you. Theologically, the church and as a whole is very split on this. So this is just like all of our talks. Everyone has to watch this with a grain of salt and a lot of grace. So there's an orderliness that comes to a service, right? Like there comes a point in which things could get a little out of control. Like maybe someone starts yelling or dancing or crazy, like drawing attention to themselves. Do you guys think there's a line in which, especially it happens a lot in musical worship. So is there a line in which like is too much or freedom, so to speak, or open space, like anything goes? Because like when anything goes like that, it just opens up. What is your thoughts about that in your heart and mind? And then maybe some Bible, if any Bible like scriptures come up. This is something as a pastor I wrestle with every day, thinking about it.
So I think personally, where the first line is drawn is who you let in and how well you know them. Like at Interstate, we pretty much know everyone there. Even if a new kid comes, they're not an adult. They're a kid, and they're pretty much going to, unless they're a wild card, they're going to follow everyone around them generally. But if it's something like a church where during service anyone can walk in, weird stuff can happen. Like I was at a church way before I moved to Dixon, where during, I think it was the sermon, we had some random guy come in, didn't look like he was normal, just started shouting and doing crazy weird things and had to pull him out. Very weird time, but that's probably not going to happen at Interstate, where someone you know and have known for a long time is just going to go do some random thing. So that, and also maybe relaxing the stay in the first 2 or 3 rows rule, as long as we're careful to make sure not all the troublemakers just go in the back and talk. Maybe
like
separating them.
You, or
I try not to be, but maybe pairing them up with a leader or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's stay away from the 3-row rule, because in our youth group, we have about 3 rows worth of teenagers, and so we make them sit in the first 3 rows.
Yeah.
So that's what Laser was referring to. Let's skip that for a second. Put that in the back burner. More about the worship, though. So let's do a theoretical. We move the chairs. You can come to the front. You worship together in a group. I don't know. What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
Well,
I'm interested to know about this.
Okay, now that you talk about that, I feel I can see how that could be a problem.
Okay.
But maybe
is it a problem, or
I can see how that like, because I have a hard time focusing. So like if somebody is kind of like moving around or they're being extra loud, like it's hard for me to keep like focus on that.
Sure, you would be distracted and looking at them.
So
it's interesting.
Like maybe if we had like just like worship nights where we come just for the idea of worshiping, and we come with worshiping in mind. Yeah.
But how is that any different?
I don't know. It's
I feel like that.
I don't know.
This is what I'm going to say this on the internet. I'm tired of doing things differently in different settings. Like, let's do a prayer night where we can get real about prayer. Let's do a worship night where we can get real about worship.
That should be like, every time.
Every single time we meet together, even if it's like here in this loft or at church or youth group, we should be doing things the same way. Not in a religious, traditional stance.
But it should all be
passionate
good.
And good. Yeah. So, yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. This is the age-old question. This is why if you guys don't know, this is why there's different churches. Like churches that are more charismatic, there's not a lot of rules at all. Like you'll have people dancing, you'll have people doing art, you'll have people waving banners, blowing horns, whatever. Like it's pretty crazy. And then to the other end of the spectrum, a more conservative church is like in your rows with hymnals. Even some churches, it's just hymnals, just singing, nothing else. So I don't know.
That's a very interesting.
We're opening up a can of worms that I don't have the answers to.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Maybe we will end this whole thing, or you guys can add to this. But like, I'll say this. At camp, like when we come together and it's really passionate and it's together, it might look a lot different than a Sunday, but it feels like, I don't think it's wrong. I don't think like anyone at camp was like, this is not right.
Because at camp, you don't, you never really fully leave the worship God is here mindset. Once you leave youth group and go back home, everything goes back to normal. But at camp, you're at the God place. You're there. You're in His presence. That's where a lot of people in Interstate feel closest to Him. And so if you're in that mindset all week, it's so much easier to go into a worship, praising God mindset.
Yeah.
And that's why the worship there is so good, I think.
I feel like nothing we do at camp feels weird because everything we do at camp is weird. So if we do something different, it's not like, why is this different? I don't like this, because everything
it's just going with the flow.
Everything we're doing is different, so it feels normal and it feels right and it feels like what we should be doing.
Come on, that's so good. That's it. And I just want that here. I think that's what you want too. I think that's what everybody wants in their hearts, no matter who they are. Man, for me, for me the debate ends like when people are so passionate about sports, and they're like shirts off, screaming in a stadium, but then they go back to church and it has to be like very controlled and like nobody get ultra, enthusiastic, because that would be you're out of control. Like, I don't know. It's a very trusting thing, right? We have to trust people to be about the Lord in that moment and not about themselves, drawing attention to themselves, and trust the leadership to pull people out who are screaming or like getting a little too crazy, drawing attention away. We would pull them away. So that's a good topic right there. Yeah. I think though we will move on to the last segment. Now I have a surprise for you on the last segment. You might know, have you watched the podcast before?
Yes, we watch them all at our house as a family.
I knew that. I wasn't trying to lead you into that, but I was genuinely asking, but I knew that. The last segment is, who would be your most ideal guest to sit here where you're sitting for all of us to hear out, except Mr. Beast.
Not Mr. Beast.
That's the only exception. With a twist. With a twist this week. Our Halloween episode is coming up. And it is going to be on location, trick-or-treaters, darkness, like it's going to be like outside in the environment. Who should we have on that episode specifically? Who would make an awesome guest that could interact with the public? Think big. We only have a couple weeks to plan, but think big. We could get him on here. And it could be Chris Pratt again.
Could be Chris Pratt again.
That's okay. There's no shame in that.
Double Chris.
Double Chris.
Okay. I feel like, so I've been thinking about the guest question.
Okay. And if you can't think of the Halloween one,
if
it can just be general, but I want an answer for Halloween because actually we just need it. Production, we just need a guest for Halloween.
Okay, I feel like for the Halloween one, I feel like I know like a lot of people say this, but I feel like Goose would actually be really good with that because he's good at like he interacts with people and he has his energy and
he's
like charismatic.
He's hype.
But I feel like if it was just any episode, I feel like what would be cool is to get more kids who used to be in youth but are now out of it.
Some alumni.
Yeah, because like see how like they're different from when they're in youth and how sort of like it changed, like how it changed how they are now still.
If it impacted them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Anyone come to mind, or any type of person, like someone who's far from ministry, someone who is really old?
I don't know if I think of anybody in particular because I'm new to youth, so I don't know a lot of people. Like, I remember when they were in youth, but
it would be good
anymore.
to get to know them, is what you're saying. Also,
be cool to see how like how they've changed, how they're the same.
Yeah. I love it. I think we will have a lot of those guests throughout this year. Yeah, so, okay, Goose, huh? Goose. I just had lunch with Goose, you guys.
You did.
It could happen. I did tell him that we would be maybe after him after the holidays, but maybe
get him in
maybe
before.
I get him.
For
Halloween. That would be a hard draw, but it would be really good. I was thinking Boris. Boris the Bear.
Boris the Bear. Wow.
Is that too much? Can you have a character on a podcast?
Work? Can he
Production
be live?
doesn't know.
Is that a thing?
I don't know.
That's
Boris
strange.
The Bear, what do you think?
Is
that too much? Would we
don't
5 minutes in and be like, we shouldn't have done this. This is too crazy.
Shortest podcast ever.
Yeah. Just cut it. Actually, he might not even be able to, if it's too dark, we wouldn't even be able to see
He's
him.
the host.
It's just like a mound in the chair.
All right, I have a question before we stop, before we end the episode. You watched the Winters on Location by the River podcast.
Yes.
Okay. All teenage led. How'd you think that went? Let's get some honesty here.
I thought
honest answers.
Yeah, okay. It was good.
Yeah,
I think
so too.
especially for like Ranger's my brother, if you didn't know that. So he was hosting that, and he was telling us about it, and he's like, it was way harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And I could tell it does look hard, and there's some parts where like they would go off topic and they'd just be kind of like fighting to get it back.
Yes.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I think it was good. I think sometimes it was just funny when they would just start going all over the place.
Some of the chaos was good, actually.
Yeah.
We don't have
Jesus
a lot of
loves
that
you.
in this. That was actually amazing.
Screaming
That was
kids.
great.
Yeah. Do you ever see yourself in the future helping out with any of this? Do you like film production or?
I do like I do enjoy that kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
I used to I would go out with all the neighborhood kids and we would make movies on iMovie, and I'd edit all the iMovie stuff on there.
Yo.
Oh,
Let's go.
So
that's cool.
It's the future right here, internet. This is the future
and we
of
also
the show.
Future
we
host.
used to do some like we used to make we had like a fake talk show that we did
Oh.
with the Davises and
original-
Ranger.
That sounds
And-
so much
Podcast.
fun.
I edited that on iMovie too.
Any chance I could get a little bit of that for a YouTube short?
We might
Asking
have them on the
production right
we
now.
have it on the computer.
Okay.
Rangers.
Rangers in the
confused.
background saying no.
There might be soup involved.
Piper
Might be
says
soup.
yes. Yes.
Production is dying.
Let's get a comment down below if you want to see some vintage Ranger and Piper footage. I personally would
footage?
love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna end it here. But I want to say one thing, Piper, you did an amazing job.
Thank you.
I would love it if you grow up into doing this. Would you host someday? Would you be a host or a guest host someday?
Maybe.
Maybe.
don't know.
I think
if
you could do
If
it.
I had the opportunity, that would be fun.
You're well spoken. I think you could do it. I know you'd prepare. Yeah. Well, that's going to do it. Everybody, stay tuned for that vintage Ranger footage. And we will catch you guys on the next episode of the Interstate Podcast. Thank you so much, Piper. Thank you, Laser. Good job on the guest host position. We will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.